Hi, I'm Karlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Karlin Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, karlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Well, hello, everyone. Happy Monday. I don't know why I have an overlay. There it is without the overlay. It's good to see everyone. I hope you all have had a wonderful weekend. Well, is there anything going on in the world? Any news that we should be aware of today? Like, is Tucker Carlson out at Fox News? Without Tucker Carlson, how dead is Fox News? I mean, it's an interesting question, isn't it? What is going on at Fox News? Now, I have been doing a little bit of investigating this morning. I have been speaking to some people that are more in the know than I am about what's going on. And so I'm going to share with you what I have been told about what happened. But we're also going to see some of the media coverage so far about Tucker Carlson's exit at Fox News. And I mean, I'm really curious to know what you guys think about this because, you know, I think that a lot of conservatives and people on the political right pretty much gave up on Fox News after the 2020 election for many reasons. I mean, Fox News's coverage of election night in 2020 was awful. I mean, I think we all can remember exactly how bad it was. And so a lot of people gave up on them, except that Tucker Carlson was there and he's still pretty great. And, you know, I do have a lot of respect for him and I don't always agree with him. I downright think that some of the things he says are like really not on point at all. But yeah, I mean, I think that that it's an interesting question of like, what exactly happened with Tucker Carlson and Fox News? Who did it? Did he leave? Was he pushed out? Was it a mutual thing? And what the holy hell is Fox News going to do now? I think that's an interesting question. We're going to explore some of the coverage of that today. We're also going to talk about Don Lemon because could the universe have given us a more delicious timing of first you've got Tucker Carlson being out at Fox News and then Don Lemon announces in the most boomer way possible that he's been fired from CNN. We're going to talk about that. We've got some other stuff on the show today, too. We're going to talk about the absolute and total meltdown over the blue checks on Twitter and how I actually got fact checked for trolling Stephen King. Like, in what other universe can I get fact checked for trolling Stephen King? This is the most hilarious thing that has happened to me all week. I was just living for every minute of this. And you have to understand, my husband is actually a pretty big fan of Stephen King. And so when I went downstairs and told my husband, like, I got fact checked for trolling Stephen King over a blue check on Twitter, it was just like, what world are we even living in today? But we actually have a couple articles we're going to read. CNN did an article covering the chaos, the meltdown over the loss of the blue checks on Twitter. Oh no. And I actually have an article that was written for a German publication that I actually had to use like Google Translate to translate the article because the article was so insane that I was like, I have to read it. I have to. Come on. And so we've got some other stuff we're going to be covering today too. We've got a lot to cover. Guys, welcome to The Cult. The Cult is a show that I do Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 5 p.m. on my channel. On Fridays, we do a special edition. It's called Happy Hour, where we watch a woke training from start to finish. We talk about it. We have some drinks. On Saturdays, I go live 1 hour later because it's my weekend too at 6 p.m. and we do Socialism Saturday. But generally speaking, on The Cult, what we talk about are deep dives into the what is going on in the culture war, the cults on both political tribes. Just in case you're new to me, I am not a Democrat. I am not a Republican. I am not on the left. I am not on the right. I'm an anarcho-capitalist that thinks that everyone is crazy, essentially. I don't think that one side is better than the other. I think that both the right and the left are two sides of the same coin. And so I try to provide you with commentary on what is going on in the world and how I am interpreting it through my very detached, somewhat skeptical, black-pilled lens so that we can at least, if we're going to have a long, slow descent into socialism, we may at least laugh on our way there. I will say a lot of people, for some reason, have been mentioning Josh Slocum to me lately. Just for people who are new to me, Josh Slocum has repeatedly falsely diagnosed me with a personality disorder that I don't have, and he's done this on the public stage like several times. So you'll have to pardon me for everyone that's been mentioning Josh Slocum to me lately. Like, I don't take him seriously. And I don't think he's a good person, and I don't think he is the best judge of people with personality disorders. And that's all that I'm gonna say about that in particular thing. But I bring it up again just because I've seen him mentioned so much, and I'm like, and everyone's like, you should check out Josh Slocum, and I'm like, no, that's not going to happen at all. Let's see. Got another super chat from Naruto. Was $700 million involved in Tucker's exit? I don't think so. A lot of people have been saying that Tucker's exit had to do with Fox News caving and settling on the Dominion lawsuit for $787 million. I don't think that had to do with it. What I have been told, and we'll get into this, is it started earlier. It started before the lawsuit. I mean, the lawsuit maybe was the final straw, but that was not what happened. So guys, we have got a lot to cover today on The Cult. Let me just get my little screen up so you can see. But before we dig into things, I do want to remind everyone, please make sure you are subscribed to my Substack. That is Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. I do actually have more than one Substack, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Why do I have the Socialism Saturday background? I don't want that background. I want that background. There we go. So this is the main Substack that you want to make sure that you are subscribed to. This is where I do all of my Unwoke content. It is certainly the Substack that I write on the most. And if you want to support the work I'm doing, the very best way that you can do that right now is by becoming a paid subscriber for $5 a month, $50 a year on my main Substack, or you can, I guess, in the other ones too, but you're going to get the most bang for your buck out of the main one. And there are a couple of reasons for that. Number one, the thing is that I'm kind of selfish sometimes, and sometimes I like nice things. And on Substack right now, we can just go into one of my articles and I can show you. Let's go into well, I guess I don't know why they're not showing up on the article anymore. But we can show up on my profile. So, on my profile right now on Substack, I have this here white check mark with an orange check. What that means is on Substack, they do verification based on the number of paid subscribers that you have. And I have hundreds of subscribers currently, but I'm on my way to 1,000 subscribers. Okay. That is the goal right now. I want to get 1,000 paid subscribers on my Substack. And the reason, well, part of the reason, not just that I want resources to be able to invest in the work that I'm doing, not just that you will fund my next trip to my next socialist conference if you become a paid subscriber on the Substack, because I basically reinvest all the money I make into doing other content. But when I hit 1,000 paid subscribers on my Substack, I get a different check mark. I get a solid orange check mark with a white check, and I want it. I know it might seem silly. I know it's a silly status symbol, but the thing of it is I actually appreciate the way that Substack does verification, because it's honest. You get verified based on the number of paid subscribers you have. I actually think that's the most honest type of verification that exists. I want that bright orange check mark. I've been working really hard for it. We're on our way there. I'm making really good progress. I'm really excited about the growth that my Substack has seen in the last couple of months, but I still need to have some work to get there. So if you want to support the work I'm doing, that is the very best place to do it, is by becoming a paid subscriber on my Substack. And of course, when you become a paid subscriber, what you want to do is you want to look for this weekly email, goes out on Sundays, called the Unwoke Roundup. And this is where you are going to be able to find all of your supporter perks. So in our weekly email on Sundays, I basically do a rundown of all the content that I created for you in the last week. And then at the very bottom of the email, we have our supporter perks. And those are all behind a paywall. So if I was signed in on an account that I had paid to be a subscriber, I would be able to see my list of supporter perks. That includes 2 Zoom calls every single week with me and my supporter community. They are private, they are unrecorded. The next one is happening at 7 o'clock tonight, so you've got plenty of time to get in for your private recorded Zoom call. You'll get your Zoom links at the bottom of the email. You will also get access to the supporter only Discord, where we do movie night every single Sunday at 8 p.m. I unfortunately will not be at this week's movie night because I'm going to a Placebo concert in Boston, and Placebo is one of my favorite bands, and I get to go see them live in Boston. Sorry. But movie night is still going to be happening. I'm just not going to be there. We also do other activities as a community. You get other perks as well. So that is where you find your perks when you are a paid member of my Substack. Now, if you are supporting me on another platform like Locals, which I do think I have the best community in all of Locals. I really do. I have an amazing Locals community. You will find your supporter perks in Locals. If you are supporting me on Patreon, you will find your supporter perks in Patreon and that sort of thing. But I'm trying to get those Substack numbers up right now because I want that bright orange check, guys. I do. Sometimes I like nice things. So that's one of the ways you can support me. But I also want to make sure people know that I do have other Substacks. I have this Substack specifically for the cult. And when you sign up, and you're not automatically subscribed to all of my Substacks just because you subscribe to one, because I want to make sure that people are getting the information that they want and are not getting the information that they don't want. So it's entirely voluntary. But I do actually have a Substack specifically for this show. What you're going to get when you sign up for that is you're going to get an email before the show goes live with your links to watch the show and also my show notes. So this is the email for today of some of the things we're going to cover. You can see I've got the articles in there. I've got links to things. If you're looking for show notes, that's where it is, and all that sort of stuff. You're also going to get a full video archive of all of my shows just in case something happens with YouTube. And guess what? I also do an audio only podcast now. So if you just want to be able to subscribe to a podcast to listen to when you're doing chores or driving or commuting or whatever to work, I am creating an audio only podcast that has the segments from the cult that you can subscribe to via Substack, via Apple Podcasts, and it's now on Spotify as well. And you can get a hold of the podcast if you just want to listen to some of the individual segments. That is all available on thecult.substack.com. And one last announcement before we jump right into things. Does anyone like this image that I made of Tucker Carlson as a king? Now, I didn't have time today to get everything I wanted to get done. But if you like this image, this will be going up in my merch store as a special edition very, very soon, probably within about a couple hours. Probably I have to work on it after I get off of the show. But this will be going up as a merch as an item in my merch store, which is unwokeart.com. It's going to go on stickers, it's going to go on t-shirts. If you want to honor our one true king, the God Emperor himself, Tucker Carlson, with that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful gold crown. What you want to do is you want to make sure you subscribe to my Unwoke Art Substack, which is unwokeart.substack.com. And I will be sending out a notice to everyone who is subscribed on my Unwoke Art Substack about when the image is available in the store, which will be great. And while you're there, just as a reminder, we are actually doing right now an Unwoke Art AI art contest that everyone can enter, and you can actually win free merch in my store. And it's just about, I gave you several prompts that you could use AI to create art around. And we've got some great entries so far. So there is still time to get your Unwoke Art entries in on the Unwoke Art Substack. And I really want everyone to participate. It's fun. We've gotten some great art that's been made so far. I have this post here where you can see some of the things that have been entered for like land blessing, hive mind. This is a corporate business guy celebrating making money off the LGBTQ. We've got a cancel culture, another cancel culture one. We've got struggle sessions. I mean, that's a really powerful one right there. So you can make so much cool stuff with AI art. And I want to encourage everyone to like unleash their creativity and check it out. And you can find out more information about that in the Unwoke Art AI art contest that is going on right now. And I really do hope that you guys will enter. And yes, I am currently making a Be Bourgeois Unwoke Art as well. I'm finagling that one a little bit. I have a lot of ideas for it, but it is coming. So more on that very, very soon. But guys, let's jump right into things. And please make sure you mount that like button for me. We do not smash the like button on this channel. We mount the like button on this channel because we're adults. And I do just want to welcome the 4,500 new subscribers that I've gotten since last week. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you have just come back to my channel for the first time in a while, welcome back. We're really glad you're here. I do want to know, because sometimes people say, they're like, Carlin, I haven't seen you in a really long time. Well, guess what, folks? I'm here every day, Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern time. And the ways that you can make sure you're seeing my content is number one, by always mounting that like button. Number two, by making sure you're subscribed to my channel. Number three, making sure you have notifications set on my channel. And most important, when you see my content served to you from YouTube, just click on it and watch it for a couple seconds and mount that like button. And that means that YouTube will serve you more of my content. So this is a team activity. We all got to do our part. If you want to see my content, I promise you it is always there. But if you're not coming in and watching my content every once in a while, YouTube is going to assume that you don't want to. So please make sure you're subscribed. When you see my content, pop in just for a couple seconds. You don't even need to watch the whole thing. Mount the like button. Let YouTube know it's something that you want, and then it will keep serving it to you. So let's check out what's going on with Tucker Carlson. Now, for those of you who have been living under a rock all morning, Tucker Carlson and Fox News have parted ways, which means that Tucker Carlson is not even going to have a show tonight on Fox News. He is done. He is no longer on Fox News. Isn't that insane? This was the story I was not expecting today. Let's read what's going on in the New York Post. Fox News says Monday it has agreed to part ways with its popular primetime anchor Tucker Carlson. Carlson, who hosted Tucker Carlson Tonight at 8 p.m. on weekends, broadcasts his final show on April 21st, Fox News says. The company notes that Fox News Tonight will replace Carlson's show and air live on an interim basis. So basically what's happening is Fox News is like scrambling and they don't really know what to do. And they're like, So this decision must have come down, like, I mean, probably like maybe last night or maybe even early this morning. This was not something that they were prepared for, which I think is interesting. A new show will be helmed by a rotating group of Fox News personalities until a new host is made, or it's named rather. Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways. We thank him for his service to the network as a host and prior to that as a contributor, the network said in a statement on Monday. Let's see. And then they try to equate it to the Dominion lawsuit. The announcement comes days after Fox News parent company settled Dominion's voting systems defamation lawsuit for $787.5 million. Dominion lawsuit had accused Fox News of airing false election claims and conspiracy theories in the wake of the 2020 presidential election. Well, like I said, I don't actually think that's the thing that drove Tucker Carlson away from the network. I could be wrong about that, but I actually did talk to some folks today, and I want to share what I heard. So, what happens when Fox News or any network really is making programming changes is they alert all of the networks that are carrying their programming that changes are coming. So, I happen to have a friend who happened to be on a major like radio station in Delaware this morning. And my friend asked them, he's like, "What communication have you guys gotten over Fox News and Tucker Carlson?" And what he was told was that this whole dispute with Tucker Carlson really started when Tucker Carlson wanted to air the January 6th coverage. And he knows because my friend has worked with Tucker Carlson many times in terms of coordinating his stuff for him appearing at events and things like that. And what he said is that Tucker Carlson's contract was significantly different than other hosts on Fox News in that Tucker Carlson had built into his contract that he could basically talk about whatever he wanted to. Okay. So he was probably a lot more dangerous to Fox News than the other Fox News hosts because he had that extra flexibility built into his contract. He could do events he wanted to. He didn't need to get approval from Fox, all that sort of thing. People don't know this, but a lot of the personalities that appear on Fox News, they have to get permission from Fox News in order to be able to do certain events and things like that. And if Fox News doesn't want them doing the events, even if the event has nothing to do with Fox News, the personalities can't actually go and do them because that's part of their contract. Tucker Carlson does not have that, or he didn't have that. And so you remember back, what was it, a couple months ago? Tucker Carlson really wanted to air the January 6th video coverage that had been released to them by Kevin McCarthy. And then does everyone remember how Tucker Carlson tried to air the January 6th videos and it turned into a kerfuffle where all of a sudden the story just kind of died. And we were also excited to see all this mystery January 6th content that had only been released to Tucker Carlson, but he wasn't able to air it. There was a big kerfuffle where there was outrage, even on the Republican right, about him airing this footage. And then all of a sudden the story just died. Does anyone remember this happening? Well, apparently, that one night where Tucker Carlson tried to air the January 6th coverage, when he went on the air that night, he didn't know what coverage the network had blessed him to air. So he actually went on his show that night blind because Fox News was dragging their heels and throwing a giant hissy fit about Tucker Carlson airing this coverage. And he didn't know which footage they were actually going to allow him to air. That's how protective they were over this footage, which begs a whole other host of questions entirely, right? Anyway, what my friend told me today is that when this incident happened, where Tucker Carlson got exclusive access to this January 6th coverage, the January 6th videos from the Capitol, and he wanted to air them and he wanted to show people what was going on, he was essentially told no by Fox News. And after that, and after Fox made him go on the air and not know even which videos he was going to be allowed to air until they started rolling the footage, that broke a lot of trust between Tucker Carlson and Fox News. And that seems to be when things really all kind of started, well, falling apart. So that's what I heard this morning. I also heard, by the way, that it is rumored that Mark Levin is also on his way out at Fox News. I don't really have much more information to share about that right now. All I heard was it is rumored that Mark Levin is on his way out of Fox News as well. So, what does that mean? I don't know, man. Your guess is as good as mine. Chat in and let me know what you think about these two interesting developments, and then we will take a look at some other perspectives. I also have this here from Kyle. Kyle does a great job. Kyle used to work at Fox News, and he says that Tucker Carlson's executive producer, Justin Wells, has also left the network. What I think Tucker Carlson is going to do is probably like take a break, maybe take a little vacation, maybe do some soul searching. But also, honestly, what I think he's going to do is remember, Tucker Carlson owns the Daily Caller. Okay? Not the Daily Wire. The Daily Wire is a different thing. Tucker Carlson has his own website called the Daily Caller, and they actually do a decently okay job. They're not as popular as some. Some people consider them to have failed, but they're still kicking. I know they're still kicking because I get their emails like every effing day. I suspect that Tucker Carlson is going to end up doing something on the Daily Caller as like an independent journalist because let's be honest, he can do whatever he wants. He can work for whoever he wants. He can go wherever he wants. I do not think he's going to end up at the Daily Wire because I don't think the Daily Wire can afford him, to be honest. And I don't think that Tucker Carlson is going to dick around with whatever contracts they're trying to force on people. I also think that Tucker Carlson is successful enough and experienced enough where he doesn't need something like the Daily Wire. And so I suspect he's going to do his own independent thing, probably on the Daily Caller, which is, again, his website. He owns that. And so we'll see what's going to happen. But the LA Times is reporting something a little bit different. And I haven't read this article yet, so we're going to be discovering this together. Tucker Carlson departs Fox News, pushed out by Rupert Murdoch. Let's see what they had to say. Tucker Carlson, the provocative conservative primetime host who helped build Fox News into a ratings juggernaut, has been forced out of the network. Fox announced the stunning departure of its top-rated host on Monday with no explanation, but people familiar with the situation who were not authorized to comment publicly said the decision to fire Carlson came straight from Fox News Corp chairman Rupert Murdoch with input from board members and other Fox Corp executives. Now, I want to make sure people understand this. Whether or not Tucker Carlson was officially fired or Tucker Carlson left on his own, I actually don't really think that it matters. Because again, this is a dispute that started months ago when Tucker Carlson got pissed off that Fox News was trying to prevent him from airing that January 6th footage. And so whether he was fired or whether he chose to quit on his own, the riff was already there. And I suspect that it would have happened one way or the other. So I'm not sure like the who made the ultimate call is really the most interesting thing. I think far more interesting is how did Fox News get into this place where they severed their relationship with their number one rated host. And by the way, Dan Bongino left last week. So this isn't even the first like big time, much loved host that has left Fox News lately. Dan Bongino left last week because he couldn't they couldn't come to agreements in terms of the contract negotiations. So we'll see, I guess. Hopefully more will come out. Carlson's last show was Friday. And then they have the statement. A Fox News representative had no other details on Carlson's exit and declined for comment. Murdoch elevated Carlson from contributor to daily host status in 2016 after Bill O'Reilly. Carlson's exit is related to the discrimination lawsuit filed by Abby Grossberg, the producer fired by the network last month, sources said. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know about that. Carlson's senior executive producer, Justin Wells, has also been terminated, according to inside sources. What is that lawsuit about? Grossberg was moved off of Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo and onto Tucker Carlson Tonight, where she allegedly was bullied and subjected to anti-Semitic comments, according to a lawsuit in New York. In deposition testimony, the former Fox News producer also said she was coerced by company lawyers to give misleading answers in the Dominion defamation case against Fox News. Fox denied the claim and said she was terminated for disclosing privileged company information. Well, that to me, I'm going to be honest, guys, and I say this as an organizational psychologist. So when I say I'm an organizational psychologist, I mean I worked internally with organizations for like a long time, all different types of organizations. So I understand the inner workings of organizations and quite frankly how they cover their asses all the time. This to me seems like a CYA move. I don't think this is the actual reason that Tucker Carlson and Fox News parted ways. I don't at all. Because it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make good business sense. I mean, how do you guys feel? Do you think that this is the reason that Fox News fired Tucker? Because to me, this reads like Fox News is leaking information to make people think, well, Tucker Carlson is just promoting a toxic work environment on his team. And he was, being very anti Semitic. And we're not anti Semitic at Fox News. And so we had to let him go. I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. I don't buy it in any way. It doesn't make any sense. In a statement, attorneys for Grossberg suggested her suit was a key factor in Carlson's exit. Well, her attorneys would say that, wouldn't they? Tucker Carlson's departure from Fox News is in part an admission of this systemic lying, bullying, conspiracy mongering claimed by our client, former top producer Abby Grossberg. Well, again, they would say that, wouldn't they? Murdoch, here it is. Murdoch also was said to be concerned about Carlson's coverage of January 6, 2021, the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. The host was promoting the conspiracy theory that it was provoked by government agents, and Carlson has called Ray Epps, a Texas man who participated in the storming of the Capitol but did not enter the building, an FBI plant without presenting evidence. Yes, I think we have a few interesting questions for Joshua tomorrow night, don't we? Why was Tucker Carlson really let go? And, maybe for good measure, we ask, was Ray Epps an FBI plant? Because I think he was. I don't know. Maybe that's just an opinion. Could be fake news. Like, check other sources as well. But I definitely think he was. I'm just saying. Anyway, so I guess we'll wait for more information to come out. But I think that this rift started when Tucker Carlson wanted to air the January 6th footage and Rupert Murdoch didn't want him to air that footage. And then they started fighting and it's all downhill from there, ladies and gentlemen. But a couple people have been posting some interesting videos from Tucker this morning once the news broke. And I just want to take a moment to listen to some of these videos and listen to some of the interviews that he's been giving lately. So I'm not sure exactly when this one aired, but it's really interesting. Let me just set up the sound. And we can kind of hear how Tucker Carlson's perspective has started changing in the last couple of years. Let's take a listen. This one's only about 2 minutes long.
Well, I've had a million, I've spent my whole life in the media. My dad was in the media. Like, that is a big part of the revelation that's changed my life, is the media are part of the control apparatus. Like, there's no, I know, because you're younger and smarter and you're like,
duh.
Yeah. But what if you're me and you spent your whole life in that world, and to look around and all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow. Not only are they part of the problem, but I spent most of my life being part of the problem, defending the Iraq War. Like, I actually did that. Can you imagine if you did that?
Well, what do you think? What is one of your biggest regrets in your career?
Oh, defending the Iraq War.
That is it?
Well, I've had a million regrets, not being more skeptical, calling people names when I should have listened to what they were saying. Look, when someone makes a claim, there's only one question that's important at the very beginning, which is the claim true or not? So I say, you committed murder or you rigged the last election. Before you attack me as a crazy person for saying that, maybe you should explain whether you did it or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for too long, I participated in the culture where I was like, anyone who thinks outside these pre-prescribed lanes is crazy, is a conspiracy theorist. And I just really regret that. I'm ashamed that I did that. And partly it was age, partly it was the world that I grew up in. So when you look at me and you're like, yeah, of course they're part of the means of control, I'm like, that's obvious to you because you're 28, but I just didn't see it at all. And I'm ashamed of that.
Isn't that what the media tries to do, though?
It's their only purpose.
Right.
They're not here to inform you, really, even on the big things that really matter, like the economy and war and COVID and like things that really matter that will affect you. No, their job is not to inform you. They are working for the small group of people who actually run the world. They're their servants. They're their Praetorian Guard. And we should treat them with maximum contempt because they have earned it.
I have a lot of respect for Tucker Carlson for saying that. And you know what I really like about that is he's obviously been extremely introspective about partially probably his role in creating the environment that we exist in today. This is kind of the same reason why I really respect Glenn Beck, not because I agree with Glenn Beck on everything, because I really do not agree with Glenn Beck on everything, like at all in any way. But first off, Glenn Beck puts his money where his mouth is. I think that Glenn Beck is a hero for what he did during the withdrawal from Afghanistan in like literally putting his own money up to get planes over there to get people out of Afghanistan. I was really impressed by that. But I also, when I first kind of came crashing onto this scene in 2020, one of the reasons was that Glenn Beck read an article that I wrote on his show, like the whole article. It was a long article too. And I started researching into Glenn Beck after that because really the only knowledge I had about Glenn Beck is how much my father hated him growing up. That was really the extent of it. And so I started researching into him and I found all these videos where Glenn Beck kind of was doing the same thing that Tucker Carlson did in that video, which he was being very self-reflective about like his role in creating the current environment and kind of wanting to do a different path forward and acknowledging all the problems with it. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for people who can be that introspective and to say that, you know what, I screwed up. And here's what I learned from my path. And maybe you can look at it and you never would have made the mistakes I did. But man, like doing that, guys, human beings are not meant to be perfect at every single juncture. It is an impossible task to always make exactly the right decision. But what we can do is to look back with the benefit of retrospect and hindsight to say, here's what I got right. Here's what I got wrong. Here's what I'm going to do differently moving forward. And man, learning from those experiences and making sure you're taking the time to accurately reflect on the things that have happened and what they mean and what came out of those that maybe you want to do differently moving forward. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for Tucker Carlson there, but there's another clip I want to watch, and this is actually from a speech, and this is a little bit longer. And I actually haven't watched this yet, so this is going to be the first time I've seen it, but I saw it all over Twitter today, and this is actually, I think that this is probably the most poignant thing we can watch in terms of trying to understand the mindset that Tucker Carlson is in, because this clip is a speech that Tucker Carlson gave over the weekend. Over the weekend. So this is new, this is fresh. Maybe he knew he was leaving Fox News when he gave this speech. We don't know. We don't know when the decision was made. We don't know when it came down. And so I want to watch this clip. It's about 6 minutes long, so it is a little bit longer, but I do think it'll be worth it. And before we get into it, guys, I just want to remind you, please mount that like button if you would be so kind for me. There are 67 likes, but there are over 200 people watching right now. Guys, when you mount that like button, you tell YouTube that this is a stream worth watching, that you want more people to watch it. And what happens is they will start serving up the stream to more people, to get more people in here to watch what Tucker Carlson had to say. Don't we all want to see that? So please go ahead, mount that like button for me. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you are not already. I do stream daily, Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. On Saturdays, we do it at 6 p.m. But I'm here almost every day, and I hope you guys will subscribe and continue to join. All right, let's watch this clip.
It might be time to start to reassess the terms we use to describe what we're watching. So when I started at Heritage, the presumption was, and this is a very Anglo-American assumption, that the debates we're having are kind of rational debates about the way to get to mutually agreed upon outcomes, right? So like we all want the country to be more prosperous and free and people to be less oppressed or whatever. And so we're going to argue about tax rates. And I think higher tax gets us there. I'm like Keynesian and you disagree, or an Austrian or whatever. But the objective is the same. And so we write our papers and they write their papers and may the best papers win. I don't think that's what we're watching now at all. I don't think we're watching a debate over how to get to the best outcome. I think that's completely wrong. And I've come to this conclusion, and I should say at the outset, I'm an Episcopalian, so don't take any theological advice from me, because I don't have any. I grew up in the shallowest faith tradition that's ever been invented. It's not even a Christian religion at this point, I say with shame. But I'm just saying this as an observer of what's going on. There is no way to assess, say, the transgenderist movement with that mindset. Policy papers don't account for it at all. If you have people who are saying, I have an idea, let's castrate the next generation. Let's sexually mutilate children. I'm sorry, that's not a political debate. What? There's nothing to do with politics. What's the outcome we're desiring here? An androgynous population? Is that really what are we arguing for that?
Yes, yes.
I don't.
Hang on, sorry, I have to jump in there. Tucker Carlson has actually just summarized queer Marxism. So if you do not watch the Socialism Saturday streams that we do at 6 p.m. on Saturdays, I want to suggest you drop by, especially go into the archives and look for the queer Marxism streams. Because Tucker Carlson has just said, "Oh, we're castrating the entire next generation. What do we want? Do we want what do you say, androgynous children?" Yes. Yes. That's what they want. They really do. In the queer Marxism streams that we watch on Socialism Saturday, they quite literally say that their objective is to abolish, liberate people from the gender binary. They quite literally are trying to create a world of non-binary people. They say that transition, to be trans, is not about, it's not even called transitioning anymore in the queer Marxism space. They are saying that trans now means transform, as in transform gender, as in abolish the binary, liberate from the binary. They're saying this stuff very clearly in queer Marxist conversations. So I just want to rewind really quick, and I want you to listen to what Tucker Carlson said again, because he's expressing it in a flabbergasted way. But I want people to understand that what he just said is absolutely true and is absolutely what we watch every single week on Socialism Saturday. Saturdays at 6 p.m. on the channel. There's a whole archive. So let's just listen to that just brief moment again.
We're desiring here. An androgynous population? Is that really what are we arguing for that?
Yes, they are.
I don't think anyone could defend that as a positive outcome.
They're trying.
But the weight of the government and a lot of corporate interests are behind that. Well, what is that? Well, it's irrational. If you say, well, I think abortion is always bad. Well, I think sometimes it's necessary. That's a debate I'm familiar with. But if you're telling me that abortion is a positive good, what are you saying? Well, you're arguing for child sacrifice, obviously. It's not about a teen girl gets pregnant and what do we do about that? And victims of rape. I get it. Of course I understand that. And I have compassion for everyone involved. But when the Treasury Secretary stands up and says, you know what you can do to help the economy? Get an abortion. Well, that's like an Aztec principle, actually. There's not a society in history that didn't practice human sacrifice. Not one. I checked. Even the Scandinavians, I'm ashamed to say. It wasn't just the Mesoamericans, it was everybody. So that's what that is. What's the point of child sacrifice? Well, there's no policy goal entwined with that. No, that's a theological phenomenon. And that's kind of the point I'm making. None of this makes sense in conventional political terms. When people or crowds of people, or the largest crowd of people at all, which is the federal government, the largest human organization in human history, decide that the goal is to destroy things, destruction for its own sake. Hey, let's tear it down. What you're watching is not a political movement, it's evil. So if you want to assess, and I'll put it in and I'll stop with this. I'll put it in non-political, or non-specific theological terms, and just say, if you want to know what's evil and what's good, what are the characteristics of those? And by the way, I think the Athenians would have agreed with this. This is not necessarily just a Christian notion. This is kind of I would say, widely agreed upon understanding of good and evil. What are its products? What do these two conditions produce? Well, good is characterized by order, calmness, tranquility, peace, whatever you want to call it, lack of conflict, cleanliness. Cleanliness is next to godliness. It's true, it is. And evil is characterized by their opposites: violence, hate, disorder, division, disorganization, and filth. So if you are all in on the things that produce the latter basket of outcomes, what you're really advocating for is evil. That's just true. I'm not calling for a religious war, far from it. I'm merely calling for an acknowledgement of what we're watching, which is not what, and I'm certainly not backing the Republican Party. I mean, ugh. I'm not making a partisan point at all. I'm just noting what's super obvious. Like, those of us who are in our mid-50s are caught in the past in the way that we think about this. One side's like, no, I've got this idea, and we've got this idea, and let's have a debate about our ideas. They don't want a debate. Those ideas won't produce outcomes that any rational person would want under any circumstances. Those are manifestations of some larger force acting upon us. It's just so obvious. It's completely obvious. And I think two things. One, we should say that and stop engaging in these totally fraudulent debates where we are using the terms that we used in 1991 when I started at Heritage, as if maybe, I could just win the debate if I marshaled more facts. I've tried that, doesn't work. And two, maybe we should all take just like 10 minutes a day to say a prayer about it. I'm serious. Like, why not? And I'm saying that to you, not as some kind of evangelist. I'm literally saying that to you as an Episcopalian, the Samaritans of our time. I'm coming to you from the most humble and lowly theological position you can. I'm literally an Episcopalian, okay? And even I have concluded it might be worth taking just 10 minutes out of your busy schedule to say a prayer for the future. And I hope you will.
There's so much I want to unpack in that. Penelope says, wouldn't be surprised if he runs as a libertarian in 2024. I would absolutely vote for Tucker Carlson as a libertarian for 2024. That would be amazing. I mean, Joe Exotic tried, and then the Libertarian Party rejected him, and now Joe Exotic came and ran as a Democrat, but it leaves open a nice space for Tucker Carlson to like swoop right in there. I think that would be great. This is from that speech that we just watched was from this past weekend. So very, very new. And, I think based on this speech alone, I have to say that explanation that we heard of in the Los Angeles Times, where they were basically saying that the reason that Tucker Carlson was fired from Fox News by Rupert Murdoch was because he was creating an anti-Semitic, abusive, hostile environment for his staff. Bullshit. I don't believe that at all in any way. And the reason that I don't believe it is because Tucker Carlson is thinking several layers above the people who are buying into he created a toxic work environment and an anti-Semitic working environment for his staff. Bullshit. Tucker Carlson is several layers ahead of where the average person at Fox News is. And so I don't think there is any chance in this universe that Tucker Carlson was promoting a hostile work environment with anti-Semitism on his team. That makes absolutely no sense at all. But another thing that Tucker Carlson said that I really do just want to discuss with people, because I posted this article on my Substack last night. And this article, I want to just make sure people are aware of it, and we're going to read it, is about how words I never thought I would say. Truly, words I would never thought I would say. Tucker Carlson was talking about the idea of how if we are celebrating abortion, that is a sacrifice. We are literally celebrating child sacrifice. And I got to tell you guys, for those of you who are new to me and maybe you weren't following along, last week I released photographs of a self-managed abortion tour that I went on at a socialist reproductive justice conference last weekend. You can find that information on my Substack. You can also find the clips on my YouTube channel, and on my second YouTube channel, my clip channel. You can find all the information. But I basically went on about a week ago a tour around how to have a self-managed abortion. And I say this as someone who is pro-choice. I am pro-choice. I have been pro-choice my entire life. I was a Democrat for 20 years. I'm pro-choice. However, the self-managed abortion tour has made me rethink everything. And when I first went on it last week, I think I was kind of in shock about what I was seeing, but I've now had some time to process the information. And I want to just read everyone this article just because it just flows so nicely with some of the things that Tucker Carlson was talking about in that speech around the pro-abortion industry and how this is literally child sacrifice. I have to admit that going on the self-managed, what I'm going to call the bathroom abortion tour at the Socialist Reproductive Justice Conference last week has absolutely made me more pro-life. Not totally pro-life, but more pro-life than I was before. And I want to read you guys just my thoughts on it. And again, you can find this on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. And if you want to support the work I'm doing and send me to my next socialist conference to cover that, please make sure you sign up as a paid subscriber at karlyn.substack.com for $5 a month, $50 a year. My work is entirely funded by you guys. I can't go to socialist conference without you. And I do actually have a socialist conference that I do want to attend in a couple of months. And so if you guys want to see that happen, then now is a really great time to fund it. But let me just read this article and then we can move on and talk about Don Lemon getting fired from CNN. Last week, I brought you pictures from a self-managed abortion tour I went on at the Collective Power Conference. In that article, I tried to present the facts in a detached, if not slightly snarky way. It was an accurate account of what they showed participants of the tour, and I felt that level of detachment was important, and I wanted to show you what happened and allow you to decide for yourself what you think. Although I obviously have opinions about what I do, I don't want to force those opinions on anyone. I want to be able to give you food for thought and receipts to consider. But I've thought a lot about that tour in the last week, and now I want to share my perspective of how it felt to participate in it as someone who is pro-choice, but not that pro-choice. It made me more pro-life. There has never been a single moment in my life when I haven't been pro-choice. When I was in college, I remember taking it for granted that if an accident ever happened and I got pregnant, it wouldn't be a big deal because I could just get an abortion. It never crossed my mind to consider the product of conception, as the abortion activists called it on the tour last week. I never considered the product of conception a baby, a living thing, anything more than a clump of cells. I literally didn't consider it to be alive. My entire life, I had been taught that abortion would be there for me if I needed it. And frankly, I viewed pro-lifers as nut jobs trying to force their religious values on others through legislation. Okay, I still view many of them this way. That's true. But the nut jobs in the pro-abortion movement are no better than the nut jobs in the pro-life movement. And last weekend, they made me do something I never thought I'd do. They made me consider being pro-life. And I hate them for that. I really do. I hate that the pro-abortion people have pushed the envelope so far that I really feel like the only sane option is to join a team that I loathe because they are actually the most humane choice. I believe options for safe, legal, and rare abortions are necessary. My reasoning is simple. As a woman who has been raped, I never want to take that choice away from women. Pro-lifers seem to believe that the day after you're raped, you just get up and skip on down to the CVS to pick up your morning after pill before heading to the police station to report your rape. Trust me, it doesn't work like that. And I say that as someone who couldn't get out of bed for days, and it took probably 3 months for me to process what happened to me when it happened. If you only make exceptions for women who have been raped, if you're legislating against abortion and you say, okay, all abortion is banned except for cases of rape and health of the mother, if you only make exceptions for women who have been raped, then what's going to happen is a lot of innocent men are going to be accused of rape. So that's not ideal either. And we must make accommodations then, because that means a time period where everyone has the right to make the choice to terminate a pregnancy in a safe setting. No one is forced to do anything that they don't want to, but the option is there. We also need to protect people who have legitimate medical concerns that would force them to make what would likely be the hardest decision of their lives. Safe and legal abortion is necessary, but that doesn't mean it should be celebrated. It's a sad thing. Pro-choice, I can get behind. Pro-abortion, I cannot. And somewhere along the line, the pro-choice movement morphed into the pro-abortion movement. When I went on the self-managed abortion tour last week, here's the person who gave me the tour. Kim here, who is retweeting a cake. This is real. This wasn't just a shocking image that I used in the header image. The woman who gave me the self-managed abortion tour literally retweeted an image of a cake that says, "Fuck you, we will always have abortions." That's a real post. She was a nice enough lady on the tour, but that's a literal cake celebrating abortion. That's gross. Who does that? But it's not as gross as their attitude towards bathroom abortions. I'm going to call self-managed abortions bathroom abortions for the rest of this essay because that's what they are. You are literally expelling a product of conception into the toilet in your bathroom. Remember, this is the lady who gave me the bathroom abortion tour, literally wearing the name of the abortion pills on her t-shirt to celebrate them. On the tour, she told us that MIF stands for mifepristone and miso stands for misoprostol. But she didn't tell us what the pills do or how they work together. I learned that later. Mifepristone kills the baby you're carrying. And after it's dead, misoprostol forces you to have contractions to force the product of conception from your body. You have severe cramps as this is happening, much worse than the average period. The abortion activists call this pregnancy relief and a ritual of release. And I'll show you evidence of that in a second. That's quite literally what they call this. A ritual of release. As someone who practices the art of woo, I've done plenty of rituals of release. I've done rituals to release anger, heartache, negative feelings, even cord-cutting rituals to release individuals from me and me from them. I suppose you could call a bathroom abortion a cord-cutting ritual. But when I do a cord-cutting ritual, I mean a spiritual or metaphysical cord, not the cutting of something that is attached to me in the physical plane. When you do your ritual of release of the product of conception, the guy told me that the bleeding is more than a normal period. A friend later told me that women should not look in the toilet during a bathroom abortion because it's not just that there's more blood. It's that there's more than just blood in what you're releasing from your body. Because remember, you're expelling the baby, even a little tiny one, so you're literally expelling body parts, is what I was told. There were several parts of the bathroom abortion tour that hit me especially hard and made me question my position. The first was when my tour guide said it would be really great for a friend to make a gift basket with everything a person needs to be comfortable during their self-managed bathroom abortion. She pointed us to this list of items, including PJs, herbal tea, a calming playlist, etc., that any pregnant person planning a bathroom abortion would love to have, and suggested that we craft gift baskets in order to be a good ally. And you can see here, these are all the things that they would like you to put in your bathroom abortion gift basket, just in case your friend is having a bathroom abortion and you want to help and support them. You can also see here, for many, pregnancy relief can be a ritual of release. So I'm not exaggerating when I say they're calling it that, because it's literally on their signs that are literally in the self-managed bathroom abortion tour that I got last weekend. A gift basket for a bathroom abortion. That doesn't seem celebratory to me at all. The next thing that gave me pause was the idea of an abortion doula to hold your hand during the abortion. So on the self-managed abortion tour, we came to the bathroom, which is, of course, is the main event of where the bathroom abortion takes place, because you're constantly sitting on the toilet, bleeding out the product of conception. And in the self-managed bathroom abortion tour, they had a stool next to the toilet and a sign that said, "An abortion doula for everyone having an abortion." A doula is supposed to help pregnant women through the process of bringing life into the world. An abortion doula comforts a woman as she kills life. One of the viewers on my YouTube channel, who is a doula herself, commented that an abortion doula was offensive to her and that her profession is not a handmaiden of death. I don't care how colorful you make the sign or the bathroom decor, that's messed up. And there are people who are making this their profession. They are literally getting paid hundreds of dollars for a bathroom abortion. This is NPR, National Public Radio, covering this new profession of being an abortion doula just a couple months ago in December of 2022. And you can see they say somewhere early on in the article that people are making between here it is. An abortion doula does charge between $200 and $800 per abortion to sit on a stool and hold someone's hand as they're on the toilet bleeding out the child. That to me seems a little messed up. But the shrine is where they really pissed me off. These people actually suggested that after a woman has a bathroom abortion, she head over to her spiritual shrine to worship herself. And there's a picture of the actual spiritual shrine that they had set up in the self-managed bathroom abortion tour. Now, some people have hypothesized that this might be a shrine to pray for the unborn life that was just ended during the bathroom abortion. Okay, that might be a reasonable assumption, that you feel some set of remorse about just having had a bathroom abortion, and you're like praying and sending positive energy to the soul that was lost. That makes sense. But that's not what this is. That's not what this is at all. And we know that it's not what it is, because I want to just zoom in. And this is something I did not point out in my original article about the self-managed bathroom abortion tour. I want to zoom in on some of the things on that altar. We know that this is about worshiping the self, not about the baby, because in the left-hand corner of the shrine, there is a sign with a woman's face on it with her hands over her eyes that says in small, almost unreadable text, "Loving yourself is the greatest revolution." It's this sign right here. And you can see it better if you go to the Substack. Again, I'll pop this into the chat. It's carlin.substack.com. The article's pinned right to the top of the page right now. You can see here that there is tiny, tiny writing on this object. Almost, it's so small that I actually overlooked it the first time I looked at it. And what that writing says is, "Loving yourself is the greatest revolution." This is a shrine about worshiping the self. This is not a shrine about worshiping or praying for or meditating for the unborn child that was just bled into the toilet. This is not a shrine about praying for a soul that was lost. It's a shrine to worship the act of abortion as an act of love. I'm going to say that again. This is a shrine to worship the act of abortion as an act of love because they believe that loving yourself is the greatest revolution. And not for nothing, but this white statue right here, that one, that white statue on the corner, that's a literal fertility statue. They have a literal fertility statue on the self-managed abortion shrine. You can't make this stuff up. I almost ran out of the room when the tour was over. That's the truth. I haven't talked about this publicly, but that was one of the last stops on the tour. I almost ran out of the room. By the time we got to the spiritual shrine to worship yourself after your bathroom abortion, I was beginning to feel physically ill. When the tour concluded, I almost ran out of the room. I never took it seriously when someone said pro-abortion activists were a death cult. But it's true. They're a death cult. They celebrate abortion. They glorify it. They make it into a group activity. They build literal shrines to it. It is their ultimate sacrament. They are literally the high priestesses of abortion. That's sick. And I can't get behind any push to normalize this. So where does that leave me? I'm still pro-choice because I will never throw rape victims under the bus. But I refuse to join a death cult. And I don't know if we exist in a world where we can ever get to a reasonable compromise and return to safe, legal, and rare. So I guess if the choice is between life or death, I choose life. There is no other reasonable option. It didn't have to be that way. So guys, that is my article about my personal feelings about going on a self-managed bathroom abortion tour at a far-left socialist reproductive justice conference last weekend. If you want to learn more about that, head over to Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com, and you can see all the pictures, especially if you're listening on the audio-only podcast. You can see all the pictures, and you can judge for yourself, but this is the first time in my life that I've ever seriously considered being pro-life. Not because I'm enamored with the pro-life movement, because I'm not at all. I am not a Christian. I actually believe that nothing ever really dies and that aborted babies can come back as future babies from a spiritual perspective, which I know is going to get me in trouble, but that's what I believe. I believe that when a woman has an abortion or a miscarriage, the soul of that child is still alive. Like, it just isn't human. And it can come back as a future child. I actually think that's a lovely thought. I don't think that's an evil thought. I think that's a lovely thought. But what I can't do is get behind building a spiritual shrine to worship yourself after you have bled your unborn child into the toilet. And to have a literal cult that is celebrating this and baking cakes for it and doing God knows what. I can't. I really can't. And so I wanted to share that article with everyone. That's my perspective. Again, still pro-choice because reasons, but it really did make me look at it differently. And I hope that you guys see it differently as well. And let me know on the Substack if you have thoughts about that. All right, let's get back to business. Let's talk about Don Lemon. Oh, Don. Oh, Don. Don Lemon got some bad news this morning, didn't he? Mount the like button for me if you are just in inextricable grief over Don Lemon's personal position, or lack thereof at CNN. So this morning, Don Lemon tweeted out this statement, and I find this rather bizarre. Does anyone else find it a little bizarre that in announcing that he just got fired from CNN, Don Lemon released a screenshot of a purple typed statement? It just seems a little weird. So Don Lemon says, I was informed this morning by my agent that I have been terminated by CNN. I am stunned. After 17 years at CNN, I would have thought that someone in management would have the decency to tell me directly. At no time was I ever given any indication that I would not be able to continue to do the work I have loved at the network. It is clear that there are larger issues at play. With that said, I want to thank my colleagues and the many teams I have worked with for their incredible run. They are the most talented journalists in the business, and I wish them all the best. Oh, Don Lemon. Isn't it so sad? He's already gotten 28 million views on this tweet. People are just so torn up over Don Lemon getting fired from CNN. Oh my gosh, he had an unhinged meltdown over Vivek. Let's listen to this. I haven't seen this clip. Has anyone else seen this? Let's listen to what happened between Don Lemon and Vivek Ramaswamy, who I also think is a very interesting candidate for president, by the way. This is from just 5 days ago. Let's listen.
Find insulting. How they got it? They got their Second Amendment rights, and they actually got the NRA played a big role in that. But today, down the
NRA did not play a big role.
Absolutely, they trained black Americans how to use firearms.
That's a lie. That's not. The NRA did not play a big role.
This is just historical fact. But
it's not historical fact.
The part that I find,
because you say it's historical fact,
the part that I find insulting is when you say today black Americans don't have those rights after we have gone through civil rights revolution in this country.
You are sitting here telling an African American about the rights and what you find insulting about the way I live, the skin I live in every day.
Here's where you and I have a different point of view.
Black and white that black people don't have in this country, and that black people do have.
Well, here's where you and I have a different point of view. I think we should be able to express our views regardless of the color of our skin. We should have this debate.
I'm not saying you
without me regarding you as a black man,
insulting that
but
you're
me regarding you
here,
as a fellow citizen.
That you're
That's what I
sitting
think
here,
we should
whatever ethnicity you are, explaining to me
whatever ethnicity
about
I'm,
what it's like to be black.
Whatever ethnicity I'm, I'll tell you what I am. I'm an Indian American. I'm proud of it. But I think we should have this debate. Black, white doesn't matter.
I think we should have this
on
debate.
The content of the ideas.
Do it. You should do it in an honest way and in a fair way. And what you're doing is not an honest and fair way. Okay, we appreciate you coming on.
With due respect, Don, I look forward to continuing that conversation. Thank you.
The conversation.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Papa.
Well, I don't think they're going to be continuing that conversation, are they? Because sadly, there's just no more reason to. Oh, too bad, so sad, Don. Now, the other interesting thing that happened is, so Don Lemon made this big show of it, right? Where I was informed by this through my agent, and they didn't even have the decency to tell me. And then CNN's communication department tweeted out this morning Don Lemon's statement about this morning's events is inaccurate. He was offered an opportunity to meet with management, but instead released a statement on Twitter. And Mike Cernovich in with the reply guy. Are you saying Don Lemon is fake news? Well, I do think that's exactly what they're saying. So poor Don Lemon, fired by CNN. Intersectionality didn't help him on this one. He is both gay and black at the same time and loved to play up that he was at least black. I never saw him really play up the gay stuff as much, but we all knew. Don Lemon loved to play up the far leftist, I'm black, don't question me, I'm black, don't question me, etc., 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 all the time. And it didn't quite work out for him in the end, did it? Oh, too bad. So sad, Don. We'll all look forward to seeing what you're doing next. But I also want to move on and discuss the blue check meltdown that happened last week on Twitter. Now, I did some trolling last week. Because what happened on Twitter last week, on 420 of all days, Elon Musk took away all of the legacy blue check marks. And it was glorious. I did not expect the level of meltdown that happened. However, Elon Musk, in his infinite wisdom, decided to pay himself for a few choice celebrities to retain their blue checks. He paid for LeBron James. He paid for William Shatner. And he even paid for Stephen King. And Stephen King was upset about this. And he said, my Twitter account says I've subscribed to Twitter Blue. I haven't. My Twitter account says I've given a phone number. I haven't. And because I was feeling in a trolly mood, I was like, ha ha, Steven, you absolutely. I was basically trying to needle him a little bit, be like, we know you paid $8, Steven. We know you paid $8. Even though, quite frankly, I didn't really care if it was a troll or not. I just wanted to annoy people. Well, guess what? Check this out. My first Twitter fact check. I tweeted at Stephen King that he absolutely paid Elon Musk for $8 and he was lying about it for clout, which I'm sorry. If you can't see that that's trolling, you're just not like the brightest crayon in the box. Maybe you're like the brown crayon or like, I don't know. Like, it's just like, it was trolling. And I ended up getting myself fact checked on Twitter. I mean, come on. Now it's all your responsibilities. Everyone has to try to get a fact check on Twitter for trolling Stephen King. I mean, how great? How great is that? But there were a couple other things. Bette Midler was also having a little bit of a Twitter meltdown. Bette Midler said, Elon took my blue check away. I'm unverified. After all these years and thousands of tweets and free content, this worm has the nerve to decertify me. And then she tweeted out, Elon deciding that I'm not me. I'm a fake and obliging me who has contributed mightily to your platform, at least until you tweaked the algorithm and tanked my metrics. Welcome to the real world, Bette. To pay monthly because you don't have enough money and you're humiliated because everyone thinks you're pathetic. Douche is the funniest thing you've ever done. Let that sink in. Sorry to hear about your rocket. And then Bette Midler changed her entire profile because, guys, keep in mind, Bette Midler doesn't care about having the blue check at all, right? She's like, Elon Musk, I'm not paying your $8 for your blue check. Do you know how we know how little Bette Midler cares about having that blue check mark next to her name? Is she literally changed her entire profile to be a massive blue check. But the media was covering this as well. We had this article from CNN Business. CNN strikes again. Twitter descends into chaos as the news outlet and brands lose verification. Twitter users awoke Friday morning to even more chaos on the platform than they had become accustomed to in recent months under CEO Elon Musk after a wide-ranging rollback of blue check marks from celebrities, journalists, and government agencies. The end of traditional verification marked the beginning of a radically different information regime on Twitter. One highlighted by an almost immediate impersonations of government accounts, the removal of labels previously used to identify Chinese and Russian propaganda, and a scramble by the company to individually re-verify certain high-profile figures, such as Pope Francis. If anyone was really confused about whether or not the Pope's account was the Pope's account because they didn't have the check, or my favorite was like Donald Trump's, people are like, oh no, Donald Trump has lost his verification. Oh no, how will we ever be able to identify Donald Trump on the platform? A broad array of media organizations lost the gold verification badges Musk's team had developed months earlier as an alternative to the traditional brand verification, reflecting the organization's apparent refusal to pay for the badges that now cost $1,000 a month. Too bad, so sad. Several prominent Twitter users, including LeBron James, William Shatner, and Stephen King, also refused to pay to keep their verification badges, prompting Musk to personally intervene. Appearing to sense the problems that might ensue if those users went unverified, Musk said Thursday he would pay out of pocket to ensure that LeBron James, William Shatner, and Stephen King's profiles continue to be verified. Well, I don't know if it was because that Elon Musk has identified the severe problems that would ensue if these users went unverified. I'm not sure that's true. But I guess CNN can live in their little fantasy world. And you can see here, This is the tweet of Stephen King's that I got fact checked on, and Elon Musk also responded to him, and he said, "You're welcome, namaste," almost as if he's trolling them, wouldn't you know? Though some of the most visible issues with the rollout could be ironed out in the coming days, the broader impact of the change has been to make it more difficult for users to determine an account's authenticity and potentially to undermine Twitter's central role as a hub for news. Well, maybe if people want their account to be identified as authentic, maybe they could pay the $8 to keep their account verified. I mean, $8 is actually less than I pay for a what do I get? A quad venti soy latte at Starbucks that goes around $10 right now, for real. Like, I pay more for a single cup of coffee at Starbucks than they would have to pay to get their precious blue check on Twitter. It's more difficult for users to determine an account's authenticity and potentially undermining to Twitter's central role as a hub for news. Twitter verification is no longer an indicator that an account represents who it claims to represent. Instead, it reflects that a user, or apparently the owner of Twitter, paid for Twitter Blue, the company's subscription service. So that's CNN's totally ethical and definitely not alarmist coverage. But that's not the best coverage. Okay. I have to read you guys this article. This was in a German publication. So you see, I actually have Google Translate because I had to get it translated into English. But this article is crazy. Do you guys want to see how well seriously some organizations take the Twitter blue check? Please mount that like button for me if you would like to me to read this article. The blue ticks, murderers, war criminals, Nazis. These people pay for Twitter Blue too. This is real. All right. Now that fascist promoter Elon Musk actually removed the blue ticks from the verified accounts on Twitter, you might mind me calling Musk a fascist promoter. But just read the article to the end and then decide for yourself whether it's justified. To date, less than 5% of verified accounts have also completed Twitter Blue to keep or earn their blue tick. Many journalists and media and politicians refuse to give Musk money for it. For example, the ZDF I'm sorry guys, remember, this is being translated from German, so it might be a little wonky at times, but we do our best. Instead of making certain verified individuals easier to spot, you can buy the hook now. As a result, the reach of accounts that have lost their hooks will probably fall, they mean checks, because so far, verified and blue accounts receive a boost in the algorithm. In Musk's brave new world, you should be able to buy reach, no matter what. And if you can't or don't want to pay, bad luck. Yes, that's exactly the point. That is how private businesses work. This is not hard. So is it worth adding a blue tick to your account in the future? What does the blue tick under Elon's rule stand for? What is he saying? And who are the few who got one and who is being rewarded with extra range for money by Musk? Who pays? Count, increase in reach. According to Twitter's own statements and also the source code of the published Twitter algorithm, accounts with blue ticks get a higher reach. I verified this with a sample of 2,500 accounts subscribed to Twitter Blue. I compared the average reach of their tweets before and after they were blue. The average range increased by a factor of 4, although I can't say for sure the average naturally reacts very strongly to large swings. A boost for disinformation. Several German disinformation distributors are now allowed to spread lies and propaganda with increased reach. Among them are Putin-friendly pseudo-expert Daniel Gazner. But the well-known radical lateral thinker Marcus Hentz has also bought algorithmic amplification from Musk. Not only did he spread a lot of fake news about corona and vaccines during the pandemic, in the past the account also liked to incite its followers against a pediatric practice. This received death threats and was terrorized by lateral thinkers. Also, blue is that of the Corona trivializer Paul Brandenburg, on whom the SEK has also carried a raid on suspicion of illegal possession of weapons and was behind the Lateral Thinker campaign. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, among other things. Anyway, Nazis and rights. Twitter sold the blue tick to an account called, I'm not saying that, only after mass protests was this reversed. Well, that's probably for the best. Another account that got a blue tick was Racial Consciousness account, which describes itself as the biggest openly neo-Nazi account on Twitter. Listen, man, you can't control if they're spending their $8 too. Now, I do actually agree with taking it away from them. I think that's probably the best thing to do. But just because really bad accounts are being verified through the purchase of the checkmark doesn't mean that they're supporting literal Nazis. It means they haven't dealt with the situation yet. Like, this is the best you have? They're verifying literal Nazis. Oh my word. And supporters of war crimes. Of course, the Kremlin has been busy buying blue ticks. For example, the Russian embassy in Germany. Oh my God. An official embassy has a blue check. Anyway, I just wanted to give you guys a quick peek into the ongoing, apparently worldwide, meltdown into a check mark. Now, I'm going to tell you, I do have Twitter Blue. Where is it? You can see I do have it. The reason that I have it is, number one, I like being able to post longer videos and not have to edit them down to 2 minutes and 20 seconds. I think that's actually really valuable. Number two, it gives me an edit button, which I greatly value as a maker of typos all the time. But number three, I love devaluing the blue check. Because, fun fact, I should have damn well been verified last year. I was on the ballot in New Hampshire as the official gubernatorial candidate for a state party. I was an official, albeit it was a fake campaign and we all knew it was a fake campaign and like whatever. I didn't even raise money for it, but I was actually legitimately on the ballot in New Hampshire as a gubernatorial candidate. I wasn't a write-in or anything. I was listed on the ballot, and they should have verified me based on that alone. That was in their policy. I met all the qualifications for verification, and they refused to do it. I asked several times. They refused to do it. So I was supposed to have this goddamn blue check before the new system got rolled out, and they refused. And the reason I tell you that story is because it's so obvious that it was never about following a standard or only having notable individuals, because even when they were presented with, I literally meet every single one of your criteria, they were like, nope, not good enough because you're running as a libertarian. We don't verify people who are outside of the political party that we don't like. So F it. They're devalued their check on their own. And I love the meltdown. It makes it a little bit harder to identify, like, who are the people that I should be wary of on Twitter. I'll give them that. But I love that we're all collectively devaluing their prized possession, their ring, if you will. I don't see a thing wrong with it. All right, guys, I have a couple other things that I do want to cover. Let me see. Actually, maybe just one more. And then, because remember, I do have my supporter call in about half an hour. We're starting at 7 p.m. tonight. If you are a member of my supporter community, if you are a supporter on Substack or Locals or Patreon, or that's basically it, you will get access to a private Zoom call. It is starting at 7 p.m. I do hope you'll join us. But I do want to just make mention of this, because my friend Seth is the founder of the beer company that has taken the internet by storm. He's actually a really good dude. He is a genuine conservative, really good guy. And he is the founder of this beer company. What is it called? The Right Conservative Dad Beer or whatever, that basically like the video that Seth made blew up all over the internet. He's producing his own beer to compete with Bud Light. I think it's a great idea. I love that he's having so much success because he so deserves it. Like, for people who don't know Seth's story, it really is. Like, he has had a rough go of it in the last couple of years. He actually lost a very young child, and that I really impacted him and his work. And so I just love so much to see that Seth is getting so much positive attention. But apparently, Budweiser's VP of marketing took a leave of absence, and now over the whole Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light thing. And now conservatives are celebrating. They're like, they fired their VP of marketing. They fired their VP of marketing. Yay, we won, we won, we won. Well, Seth is correctly beating the alarm bell over this. And he said, they're playing conservatives like they always do. They're giving conservatives a false sense of victory without apologizing or admitting wrongdoing. They'll get off the hook with liberals by pretending she's on a leave of absence for personal safety. This is why conservatives lose. And I wanted to just show everyone this video that Seth released yesterday, I think, because he explains the situation. And I do think it's important that people watch this and people listen, because Seth is absolutely correct. This is why Seth and I get along, because he and I absolutely align over the reasons that conservatives lose. Let's listen.
Conservative dad ain't happy. I knew this day was coming. I've done my best to warn everyone. I know this is going to upset some people. Unfucking believable. Conservatives just love to cave. Benny
Yes,
Johnson's
they do.
going to be the one that we're going to make an example of here, because he just happened to, he's a good guy. I like what I know of Benny as a person, but he just happened to make the dumbest fucking video of them all in regards to the Bud Light controversy, and his video.
Hang on. 2 Budweiser executives were not fired. That is not true. Guys, there is a difference between someone being fired and someone being put on a leave of absence. If you believe that their executives were fired, you have been lied to by your influencers. They were not fired. They were put on a leave of absence. Those are 2 really different things, which Seth is going to explain.
That he just released. And so you just have to watch this.
Exactly. Exactly.
Alyssa Heinerschneid has been officially let go. That's right. Alyssa Heinerschneid,
wrong.
sayonara, see you later. You are on a leave of absence, which is corporate speak for fired.
No, it's not.
Woo!
Not true.
It is so
Johnson
wonderful
is
because,
wrong.
it's rare to get a W in this profession. It really is. With all of the corporate press against you, with all of Hollywood against you, with all of politics against you, with all of institutional financial.
This is why, guys, I try to warn you about conservative influencers all the time. I tell you that they're lying to you all the time. Benny Johnson is flat out lying. No one was fired. They're going to be brought back. I promise you. That marketing executive, unless she decides to quit on her own, which she could very well do, but if she doesn't decide to quit on her own, she's going to be brought back. I promise you.
Wokeness against you. It's hard to get an actual W if you're fighting for common sense and people to do their jobs in a meritocracy. And now we got it. Finally, someone has paid for Bud Light spitting in the faces of their customers, and it couldn't be a better person. The scalp of Alyssa Heinerschneid is certainly a...
This is this fucking stupid shit that is the reason conservatives have no fucking institutional power.
Yes.
This is why we have no power with corporate America. This is why they shit on you. This is why they put trannies on fucking beer bottles. This is why they market trannies to children, which is what they did.
I don't agree with that,
They
but
will
okay, fine,
continue
whatever.
to. They have not stopped. They don't give a fuck. They think you're an absolute idiot. And maybe we are. This is going to be the opportunity for conservatives to prove whether or not we have learned anything, or if we're going to continue to get rolled over and lose this quote unquote culture war, because it's not a war. It's a fucking massacre is what it is. And so until people stop giving it, they can't wait to cave to these people, to make their stupid fucking videos like this and claim, woohoo, victory. What in the fuck is this? Do you know what happened? Bud Light has put on leave of absence the woman who came up with the ad with Dylan Mulvaney, the tranny in the tub, whatever you want to call it. They've put this person on a leave of absence because they're not selling beer right now. Everywhere you go, it is apparent. I talk to people. I'm receiving thousands of calls. They're not selling beer. They want to change the subject, but they will not. They will refuse to apologize to conservatives. They will not say they've done anything wrong. They put out a stupid statement from the CEO of Anheuser saying, "Oh, we're listening. We're curious. We want to hear all sides. We don't want anyone upset." Shut the fuck up. Is that's not a statement of nothing. That's not a victory. They've put this woman on leave, and part of their reasoning in their statement is, we communicated some steps with our internal teams and wholesale partners, adding that, quote, we made it clear that the safety and welfare of our employees and our partners is our top priority. You know what the fuck that means? That means that they are using the excuse of putting her on a leave of absence because conservatives are such a danger to the woman who...
Hang on. No, Dylan did not. That is a lie. That is alarmist. That is extremist. That's not even accurate. This, Natalie, is another reason that conservatives lose right here. Because you guys lie to people when it's like, it's provable that you're not telling the truth. Provable. So cut it out. Because you're not winning anything. You're not convincing anyone to join your team. God.
Came up with that ad campaign. And these clowns in the conservative movement, and Benny just happens to be the one that I'm calling out today, but they're all starting to fall in line. These clowns in the conservative movement are selling it to you as a victory. Anheuser-Busch has just come out and said you are so dangerous that they're having to essentially send this woman into hiding for making tranny television ads that target towards your children. If this is not the line, there is no reason to continue fighting. Turn off the noise. Stop listening to the clowns and conservative Inc. that are trying to sell you this nonsense because they can't wait to have another Bud Light. If this can't be won, there is no conservative movement. Again, I'm sure Benny's a good guy. I like a lot of his content. This is not the way. It has to end. There's not much more I can say about it, but let this be the line. I know there's going to be people who say that this is just because Seth wants people to buy his beer. Look, don't buy my beer. It would be nice. Buy any other beer that Anheuser-Busch. Yes, I know most, if not all of the other brands are also woke corporations. That's not the point. We have the opportunity to send a message to corporate America that we will not take it anymore. If you give up on this, they are going to continue shitting on us to a level that we have never seen before because we have no power in the corporate economy. And we are proving it by acting like fucking clowns and giving in to these people. We skip a couple of football games. I've been warning people this from the beginning. We skip a couple of football games and we protest and we show right back up. They know we will come back. We always have. This is our opportunity to follow through. Never buy another Anheuser-Busch product again. This is our moment to make a stand. And if we can't do it, it's over. So what are you going to do?
So what he's saying, guys, is if people aren't tracking, they didn't fire anyone. They put them on a leave of absence. Now, when they put them on a leave of absence, conservative influencers then went out all over the internet and lied to their audience. And they said, they're fired. They're fired. We won. We won. Victory. We can buy Bud Light again. Victory. They were not fired. Getting put on a leave of absence and getting fired are two extremely different things. And what Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light are waiting for is for you all to forget in a couple of weeks. And then what they're going to do is they're going to quietly reinstate them which they're not going to announce, and everyone's just going to forget because they're all going to move on. And the reason that people are going to move on is because they have been lied to by their influencers about what has occurred. I'm old enough to remember a couple years ago when conservatives were like, boycott Disney, boycott Disney, boycott Disney, boycott Disney, after that Mandalorian actress got fired. This whole big thing. Cancel Disney Plus. Never go to theme parks again. Well, guess what? That lasted a couple of months. And Disney's still alive and kicking. They have little upstarts every once in a while where people are like, you're doing woke stuff, Disney. And Disney's like, yep, we are. And then you know what happens? And Disney knows this is going to happen. Conservatives still subscribe to Disney Plus because they're like, well, my kids really like the movies and I just can't find them something else to watch because they really like the movies. And so then they still subscribe to Disney Plus. Disney Plus is doing just fine, guys. Disney is doing just fine. Literally, you guys boycotted it for a couple of weeks and then you went right back. And not only did you go right back and subscribe to Disney Plus again because your kids really like the movies, you also started going to the theme parks again. And what I heard from people is, well, I really want Ron DeSantis to punish them, but you know, my kids really like the rides. And so I have to bring my kids to Disney for the rides, but maybe Ron DeSantis can come and save them, save us from them because I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take my kids to Disney World at $100 a person a pop. That's what happened a couple years ago with Disney, and Disney's doing just fine today. Listen, they've lost some value, but they're doing fine. Budweiser's going to have a little dip. Here's what's going to happen with Budweiser. It's going to have a dip, and then it's going to go right back up. Because now conservatives are like, we won. Bud Light, they fired them. We won. That means we can buy Bud Light again because we got what we wanted. Well, once you start buying Bud Light again, they're going to they're going to reinstate the VP of marketing, and they're going to go on and they're just going to keep doing their thing. Seth is trying to warn you. The reason I played the video from Seth is a conservative. He's trying to warn you about what's happening. You guys won't listen to me because I'm not a conservative. And so you inherently mistrust everything that I say, even if I'm 100% correct and I'm later proven to be 100% correct. But he's an actual conservative. That's why we watch them. And he is telling you the same thing. So if you really want to win, you haven't won nothing yet. I don't care what Tim Pool says. Tim Pool doesn't care about this. Like, you ain't won nothing. If you really do want to win, then you need to continue to not buy Bud Light. And by the way, I don't even know why you guys are buying Bud Light to begin with. Bud Light is an awful beer. It is an awful beer. No self-respecting beer drinker actually buys and drinks Bud Light. So I've got a suggestion for you. Go find a craft beer store and expand your range. You can even just go to your supermarket. They have craft beer in a lot of supermarkets now. I promise you, Bud Light is the Walmart discount aisle of beer. You have not had good beer if you think that Bud Light is a quality product. So use this as an opportunity to expand your range. Get some Blue Moon. Get some cider. Go try some local craft breweries in your area. Go to a local craft beer store. Expand beyond the Dollar Tree of beer that is Bud Light. I promise you, you're going to be so much happier if you do this. So much happier. All right, guys, that is all I have for the show today. Now, I just want to remind everyone that if you do want to support the work I'm doing, head over to Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com and make sure you sign up as a paying subscriber. That will get you into the Zoom call that's going to be starting in about 15 minutes. You can also join us on Wednesday. You can join us for movie night, all that good stuff. But most importantly, you will fund The next socialist conference I go to, which I do actually have a plan for this, we're not going to talk about it on the internet right now, but I do have a plan and I do need your help to get there. And I really, really want that orange check of hitting 1,000 paid subscribers on Substack, which is why I'm focusing on that. It's $5 a month, it's $50 for the year, and it does keep me in business because I am completely funded by you. I will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. and I will be sending out a message to the cult, letting them know what we're going to be covering on the show. You can sign up for that by heading over to thecult.substack.com. But right now, guys, please mount that like button for me. If you haven't already, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you have not yet. And I will be back at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll